Good evening. Welcome back to Zlatan's Fight Picks. Today we'll be going over the card for UFC Fight Night number 72, Vera versus Sandhagen, March 25th, 2023. Let's get started on this card. This is going to be a very interesting card. It's going to be a fun card, but a hard one to pick. This is like sometimes you see cards and a lot of things just come out at you. This is not one of those cards. This card was difficult to pick. There was a lot of new people, a lot of people that haven't had very much experience in the UFC, a lot of people that you don't have a lot of tape on, and it's gonna be one of those cards where we're gonna do the best we can with the picks, but I don't know, it's like one of those cards you want to stay away from. But nevertheless, I have made the picks that I think are going to win to the best of my ability with the information at hand. Coupled with that, there's been a few times I mentioned in my last video is the weigh-ins are crucial, and I find myself changing picks, seeing the people at the weigh-ins. Number one, they don't come in as big, or the dimensions of the fighters like basically aren't true. We know with an inch or two or three or four, actually up to 3 inches, like there's been the discrepancy in height, discrepancy in just general size, or some people are moving up or moving down, and compared to the other people in that weight class, you see a noticeable difference that worries you. You see people with a bad weight cut and they come in really looking drained and beat up. So I've had quite a few times where, changed my pick on after the weigh-ins. And that usually happens on Friday. I haven't had time to really do like a third video since it's quite extensive and takes time, and I'd have to figure out actually how to put them on the screen while I'm talking in the corner. It's my next thing. I gotta learn a couple more things to be more technical at this. Also, it just takes up a lot of time. But I will see if I can watch the weigh-ins, and if I see anything that jumps out at me where I might be changing a pick, I might go on for a few minutes and make a video and just update a couple of picks if that's the case. Like I said, hopefully in the future I'll have like a full video where we go through each picture and, analyze the whole weigh-ins kind of thing, and kind of make a segment, maybe a 25-minute segment of it. Nevertheless, let's get started. We will start with the prelims. The first fight of the night will go straight up to the main event. First fight, Haley Cowan versus Tamires Vidal. Haley Cowan, 5'8", 67-inch reach, 7 wins, 2 losses, 31 years old. Tamires Vidal, 5'6", 68-inch reach, 7 wins, 1 loss, 24 years old. Cowan has fought once in the UFC. Once in the UFC, or is it? She fought in Dana White Contender Series. Then she was going to fight in the UFC. Then she didn't. Something happened. And then Tamires Vidal was a last-minute substitute in the UFC. And she came in and she won her fight by flying knee. Against a tough opponent. I mean, the opponent's not in the UFC anymore, but she was a fairly tough girl. Haley Cowan, she was a gymnast. Now she's moved into MMA. Physically, she looks very imposing. She's big. She's strong. She's a gymnast, so she's got a lot of power. She looks the part. Tamires Vidal, she's not much to look at. She doesn't look like a physical specimen. But the girl is tough and she can fight. I picked against her in the fight that she was debuting in, and she surprised everybody and got the knockout finish. Again, the girl she fought was tough, but she's not in the UFC anymore. What was that girl's name? She fought out of Hong Kong. Oh, I can't remember. But nevertheless, I'm thinking Tamires Vidal is the actual fighter here. She started in fighting in mixed martial arts, and she's a mixed martial artist. Haley Cowan has adopted fighting from being a gymnast. That doesn't mean she's not good. I just think the more natural fighter is Tamires. I'm slightly leaning towards Tamires Vidal to win this fight. I've seen Haley Cowan have problems on the ground, even though she's strong. I've seen smaller fighters. I think the last fighter she fought was like 5'5" or 5'4", and after having a really strong first round, eventually that fighter kept grinding, and I eventually got to Cowan and got her on the ground and put her in some bad spots. Cowan was able to fight through it, but in the end, she won a split decision, which she could have easily lost. I think that other fighter might have done enough to actually win. Tamires Vidal, again, I don't know if she's up to the par of the grappling of that fighter, but she is a little bigger than that fighter, so she's not going to have that super disadvantage of the height and the reach that the other fighter had. And just judging it from that, I think Cowan's going to have a little bit more difficulty with the range, since this girl has, well, it's the same reach. But again, she is still 2 inches shorter. But I'm going to lean towards Tamires Vidal. I doubted her in the last one. I think she will be able to pull it off. We'll see what happens in the later rounds, in the last half of the second round and the third round. I think Tamires Vidal might be able to pull something through and get a decision. I can't see them finishing each other. It's going to go down to a decision. And again, I think I said in my last video, I am no longer going to be putting women's fights in my top half of my picks, even if I'm confident in them. They're going to be at the bottom end, just because no matter how we do it, it always seems like the biggest upsets seems to come with the women's, and that's because they're so close in ability. There's not a lot of knockouts. They always seem to come to a decision, and you never know with stuff like that. So I think I'm learning from that. So we're not gonna. You'll see when we do the chart. Next fight, Victor Altamirano, 5'8", versus Vinicius Salvador. Victor Altamirano, 5'8", 70-inch reach, 11 wins, 2 losses, 32 years old. Vinicius Salvador, 5'7", 70.5-inch reach, 14 wins, 4 losses, 26 years old. Victor Altamirano, I never thought he was a sensational fighter, but he's a well-rounded fighter. He's pretty tough. Mid-range, in the mid-range. He's never going to be in the top tier, but he's got good striking. He could take a punch, and he's pretty good at wrestling. I think I bet against him in all his fights, and it was 50-50 on him. So Vinicius Salvador, 5'7", 70.5-inch reach, 14 wins, 4 losses, 26 years old. I saw him in Dana White Contender Series. He's a great fighter. He likens himself to Anderson Silva. He fights with his hands down, and he does a lot of movement and side to side, a lot of crazy antics. He's an exciting fighter to watch. He goes for the knockout. I like him. I think he's a very exciting fighter, and he could get a knockout. I don't think he's very good on the ground. I think his striking defense, basically there's no striking defense. It's basically him moving side to side like Anderson Silva, but he's not Anderson Silva. So I think he gets tagged a lot. He relies on his chin. So Victor Altamirano I think he's got a better defense. I think he's fast enough to get to Vinicius Salvador. I think Victor Altamirano can take him to the ground as well. I'm leaning towards Victor Altamirano in this, even though Vinicius Salvador is a great fighter to watch. He's exciting. I think that there's a lot of holes in his game. Then as he gets to this top level of opponents or higher level opponents in the UFC, he might be exposed to some of that. So I'm going with Victor Altamirano in this fight. Next fight, Manuel Torres versus Trey Ogden. Manuel Torres, 5'10", 73-inch reach, 13 wins, 2 losses, 27 years old. Trey Ogden, 5'11", 72-inch reach, 16 wins, 5 losses, 33 years old. Pretty much the same in height, within an inch, reach within an inch, ears within 5 years, it's fine. Trey Ogden, I picked against him. You know what, I'm not really impressed with Trey Ogden. I picked against him in the last fight against a really highly touted prospect, super big underdog, upset, ruined. Well, he didn't ruin my parlay totally, but he damaged it because it was kind of in the mid-level. But he fought against a prospect that when we saw him in the Dana White Contender Series was going all out, fighting, taking shots, fighting, and throwing a lot of punches. And in his debut in the UFC, I don't know if it was the debut jitters or what, or the awkward style of Trey Ogden, he didn't even throw any punches. And Trey Ogden basically won the fight by just doing a little more than nothing. So I don't think Trey Ogden's a sensational fighter. I mean, he can take a punch. He's okay. Like, he just seems lethargic. He's not very fast. Everybody says he's got a decent jab. He's kind of awkward maybe. I don't know. I just don't see anything in him. Manuel Torres, I mean, he's a first-round fighter. He's been knocking everybody out in the first round, submitting everybody in the first round. No one's really seen him in the later rounds. Now he's going into the UFC level. He's an unknown fighter, but like Trey Ogden is a known fighter. And knowing Trey Ogden, I don't think he's a great fighter. Torres, I mean, you're thinking if this guy could bring that power and that excitement, he's gonna, do some damage to Trey Ogden. Is Trey Ogden gonna grind out a decision? It's hard to tell. But I can't bet on Trey Ogden because I just don't think he's that good. I'm surprised he won that last fight. I mean, really, that's going to be his claim to fame. He was like a super big underdog and beat a really good prospect. And I don't think he beat him as much as the really good prospect just didn't come out at all. It wasn't even fighting. It was just terrible. I've never seen anything like it. He just kind of stood there. He wasn't even getting hit. He would just kind of follow Trey Ogden around. So I'm going to go with Manuel Torres. I think he can get it done. He's an exciting fighter, lots of power. Hopefully he's not the kind of guy that burns out in the end. We don't know because he really hasn't been pushed. Trey Ogden's also not the kind of guy to push you. So he's going to be trying to get enough shots to win the round. He's always careful of not getting caught. Can't go with Trey Ogden. Just still can't bet on him. Going to go with Manuel Torres on this one. Next fight, CJ Vergara versus Daniel Lasarda, also known as Daniel da Silva. Apparently his name is interchangeable. Vergara, 5'6", 68-inch reach, 10 wins, 4 losses, 1 loss, 31 years old. Daniel Lasarda, 5'6", 70-inch reach, 11 wins, 4 losses, 26 years old. Vergara, very much a journeyman UFC fighter. Tough, grinder, can take a punch, has decent combinations, doesn't stop throwing, doesn't stop moving forward. He's a guy that works, and he works for your money. He's always the same type of fighter. He's consistent. Daniel Lasarda, super exciting guy. First rounder. He's going to either try and knock you out or submit you, and he's able to do both. And sometimes he's not, and then he just gets put out or submitted, or one or the other. Can't bet on Daniel Lasarda. This guy's too unpredictable, too inconsistent. Even though he looks dynamic, he looks like he's going to be exciting, I really haven't seen a lot of that. Even though people keep saying it, I haven't seen it. He's not that dynamic. He's not that exciting. I mean, I guess he just goes for it. And I mean, the only opportunity he has is to go for it and catch Vergara in the first round, because I think that's all he's going to get. Because Vergara is consistent, and Vergara will last the 3 rounds and grind it out. I think Vergara is going to take this one. I got a pretty high probability on this one. I mean, apart from something crazy happening, Vergara is going to win this. Lasarda is not going to be able to go past the first round. Next fight, Trevin Giles, Preston Parson. Trevin Giles, 6 feet tall, 74-inch reach, 15 wins, 4 losses, 30 years old. Preston Parson, 5'11", 71-inch reach, 10 wins, 3 losses, 27 years old. I went back and forth on this one. I picked Trevin Giles. I was thinking about picking Preston Parson. I went back to Trevin Giles. I looked some tape. Trevin Giles. You know, the potential of Trevin Giles might be better than the actual Trevin Giles. At middleweight, he showed flashes of greatness. But he's almost too confident, though. So he had got some good wins. He had got some good... I mean, even his losses, he fought... The guys he lost against were really good guys, or really good prospects. So he's good on the feet. He's got great boxing. He keeps his hands low. Sometimes that gets him caught. But he's fast enough. Normally, he's fast enough to beat most of the people with his hands down low, and he goes side to side, almost like Roy Jones Jr. style, right? It kind of looks like Roy Jones too. So I mean, and he's actually not too bad on the ground. He takes guys down. He fights off the ground. He gets taken to the ground. He's got good skills to get back up. Sometimes he actually stays on the ground too long because his skills are pretty good. He's a brown belt in jiu-jitsu, and he almost spends too much time on the ground, or he doesn't fight enough to stay on his feet because he'll just go on the ground knowing he's gonna get back up. But in that interim, he's on the ground fighting to get back up. And how does that look in the judges? Does the guy get off a submission attempt? Does the guy get off some ground and pound? Is he on the ground for 30 seconds, 1 minute, minute and a half? That's control time. He could lose rounds because of how he fights, because he's confident on the ground. And you compare him to like a guy like, and this is a guy that Preston Pearson fought, was Daniel Rodriguez, who avoids the ground like the plague, and he'll fight tooth and nail not to get on the ground and not to have to get back up. And of course, he's not great on the ground, so he doesn't even want to try to get back up. I imagine he can get back up, but Trevin Giles being decent on the ground and being able to get back up and to wrestle a little bit, he doesn't fight it as hard, which worries me in this matchup, which was worrying me. Trevin Giles, just to finish off, he's got decent power. He's not super powerful, but he's got, decent striking. In his last fight against Concesco, he fought a power puncher with wrestling ability. And in the third round, he did get taken down. He got controlled for a little bit before he got back up. And those are the rounds I'm worried about, because some of the judges gave that guy that round, even though he did a lot less damage than Trevin Jones in the first part of the round. So, you get Parsons coming in and doing that twice, and then he's won the fight on a decision. And through that fight in the first bit, Trevin Jones was just content to hardly throw any punches. Even though the other guy wasn't throwing them back, they were just kind of looking back, staring at each other, but Trevin Jones just threw just enough to win the fight. So that worries me right there, when I think that was his first fight since he got the 2 knockouts. So he got knocked out twice, then he fought Concesco and then he also went down from middleweight to welterweight. So he got knocked out by 2 guys, one guy at welterweight, and he got knocked out in middleweight. Then he got knocked out at welterweight. Then he was fighting at welterweight, and I think he was a little hesitant because it was his first fight since those 2 knockouts. But he looks good. I mean, I don't think he's a bad fighter. I think he's a pretty good fighter. Preston Parsons, he fought Daniel Rodriguez. Couldn't get anywhere. Daniel Rodriguez had a good sprawl. He tried to take him down. He wasn't able to take him down. He said in that fight he should have tried taking him down a little more. Instead, he stood on the feet, and Daniel Rodriguez caught him a couple times. I don't know if he punched him in the eye. He was hurt for a little bit, and then Daniel Rodriguez eventually knocked him out. He says that he should have wrestled more. I don't even think it would have mattered, because I don't think he could have taken him down. Now, Daniel Rodriguez has got phenomenal takedown defense. probably better than Trevin Giles. Although Trevin Giles does incorporate part of his ground game as his takedown defense. When he gets taken down, he gets back up. Which is where it worries me, because now Preston Parsons fought the next fight, and he fought a guy who's really tough, Darren Elder. He, again, debut, fought from, instead of one, he's a 155er, fought at 170, but he's a really tough guy. And Preston Parsons did dominate the fight, but he did have problems with him. So, I mean, even though he had an easier time to take him down, I'm just questioning now when he gets to the bigger man like Trevin Giles with some takedown defense as well, is he going to run into the same problem as he did with Daniel Rodriguez? I'm thinking yes. I'm just hoping Trevin Giles doesn't get taken down and want to fight back up, even though he's able to. Just kind of avoid the ground. Don't get him the control time, just because of the decision aspect of it. I don't think he's going to get finished. Preston Parsons is not a power puncher. He's a ground and pound guy. I think Trevin Giles is good enough off his back where he's not going to get ground and pounded. I'm going with Trevin Giles in this one. Even though I really didn't like his last fight, he didn't throw a lot of volume. I think it was his first fight after the 2 knockdowns, and I think he was hesitant. I think he's going to pick Preston Parsons apart. Preston Parsons might be able to take him down once or twice. I think Trevin Giles can get back up, and hopefully he doesn't take too long to get back up. So that's Trevin Giles is going to be the pick. So it was long, but it took me a while to decide on this one. Next fight, Steven Peterson versus Lucas Alexander. Steven Peterson, 5'10", 70-inch reach, 19 wins, 10 losses, 32 years old. Lucas Alexander, 5'11", 73-inch reach, 7 wins, 3 losses, 27 years old. I had gone back and forth on this one as well. I had picked Lucas Alexander, and after examining more tape and more tape on Steven Peterson and more tape on Alexander, I just couldn't go with Lucas Alexander, even though I wanted to go with the Lucas Alexander, what everyone talks about, his phenomenal leg kicks, an exciting fighter. Every time I looked at his regional scene, I didn't see any of that. And the people he fought were such lower caliber fighters. I just didn't see this phenomenal up-and-coming fighter. And Brito, when he fought Brito, he just kind of ran right through him, jumped on his back, and choked him. He didn't even get a chance to see any of that. And Steven Peterson, and I think he's getting, a little maybe worn out because he's been through so many wars. He did pretty good against Julio, what's his name? Can't remember. Anyways, he's a pretty decent fighter. A split decision. He's lost some close ones, and been through some brawls. He could take a punch. He's very durable. He's good at everything. He's good on the ground. He's good on the feet. He's got good defense. So he's like a journeyman. He's really tough, hard to get out of there. Can beat most guys, but not the top echelon guys. I just don't think Lucas Alexander's top echelon guy. Apart from something I've never seen, he does something I've never seen before. He's got a little bit longer reach, but Steven Peterson is a tough guy. I think he can work through it. Lucas Alexander, we don't know very much about him, really. I mean, how tough is he? Probably pretty tough, but we've never seen it. Is he submittable? Obviously, Brito submitted him. Steven Peterson's got a lot of submissions in his record as well. I think Steven Peterson's going to be able to grind this one out. So I kind of went back to Steven Peterson. So flip-flopped on that one, but I think Steven Peterson's the pick. Next fight, Daniel Pineda versus Tucker Lutz. Daniel Pineda, 5'7", 69-inch reach, 27 wins, 14 losses, 37 years old. Tucker Lutz, 5'8", 72-inch reach, 12 wins, 2 losses, 28 years old. Daniel Pineda, if you ever watch his fights, his first round, he looks like he's just a monster. He has the nastiest leg kicks. He literally cripples you in the first round, but something happens, and I don't know what it is. By the second round, he's just a completely different fighter. He's tired. He doesn't look as powerful. He doesn't look as coordinated. I mean, if he gets you on the ground, he's got great ground and pound. He's good on the ground, but something, just the wheels just fall off. I don't know what it is. After the first round, he's not the same fighter. There's been a lot of fights that have been overturned because of some kind of substances that he's taking, testosterone, or I don't know what else. So some performance enhancing things. So, that's my big question mark. But he's just a monster in the first round. Like, I've seen him do really well against some pretty good fighters. And just his kicks are just unbelievably powerful, especially his low kicks. He literally crippled these guys after three low kicks. And he just keeps kicking. So he's a problem, but he hasn't been fighting for a few years. I think 2 years at least. Now, obviously, he's going to be tested more frequently. How is he going? Is those sensational performances due to the drugs or enhancement drugs that he was taking, the performance drugs or whatever, or was it his natural ability, and how much of that's going to wear on him, right? Tucker Lutz, I mean, he's just an average fighter. He's good everywhere, and he's pretty tough, and he's pretty consistent, and he's much younger. So, guy who hasn't fought, has been caught with performance enhancing drugs against a young guy who's pretty good, not great, who's 9 years younger, still fighting consistently. I don't know. I got to go with Tucker Lutz on this one. There's too many variables with Daniel Pineda, but you never know. I mean, he can come in and knock anyone out. He's got a lot of power, but how much was that power was due to his performance drugs? I don't know. So we'll find out. But I'm going with Lutz because he's a safer pick, more consistent. On to the main card. Chidi Bang Bang Niu Kwani. 6 foot versus Albert Duraev. 6'3", 80-inch reach for Niu Kwani. 6'3", 80-inch reach. 22 wins, 8 losses, 34 years old. Albert Duraev, 5'11", 75-inch reach. 15 wins, 4 losses, 34 years old. I mean, the obviously discrepancy: 4-inch in height, 5-inch in reach. Chidi knows how to use that reach. I really like Chidi. He's sharp on the feet. He's got great strikes. He's got good takedown defense. Albert Duraev, wrestler. I mean, this is the perfect matchup. Wrestler versus striker. Duraev, shorter. Probably easier for him to get to the feet and legs. I just don't think Albert Duraev's this sensational wrestler. I think he's a pretty good wrestler, but I don't think he's sensational, and I don't know if he's going to be good enough to keep Chidi down. And Chidi's got he's got great submissions off his back, and he usually uses them just to get back up. Albert Duraev, he's got good top control, but I mean, when he fought Kopelev, who's got no takedown defense and no basically no skills to get back on his feet. Or he does now, but I think he's working on it. Albert Duraev had a really hard time with him, and when he did get on the feet, Kopelev really clocked him a few times. I think he's not going to be able to get away with that with Chidi. I think Chidi's got better takedown defense. I think he's got better defense to get back up. And I think he's got much longer range. He's a really sharp striker. I can't see Duraev beating this guy. I got a high confidence in Chidi taking out Albert Duraev. Next fight, Alex Perez versus Manel Kape. Alex Perez, 5'6", 65.5-inch reach, 24 wins, 7 losses, 30 years old. Manel Kape, 5'5", 68-inch reach, 18 wins, 6 losses, 29 years old. Almost the same height. A little bit of a height difference in reach. I really like Alex Perez. He's great on the ground. He's got good takedowns. He's got good takedown defense. He's got good defense. He's a good striker. I just don't think he's a top 5 guy. I think he's not going to be the top 5 guy. He's lost to all the guys in the top of the division. I think Manel Kape has lost to some of the guys in the top division as well, but not like Alex lost. He lost close decisions. And I think a lot of those guys in the top division were either taking him down, getting points, or leg kicking him. it was close on some of them, and I think that Alex Perez is not at that level to do the same thing to Manel Cap. It's going to be a close fight, but I think Manel Cap is super fast, super dangerous on the feet. I think he could be a top five guy. I got pretty high confidence that Manel Cap's going to do this. Even though I do like Alex Perez, I think he beats 95% of the guys, but I don't think he beats Manel Cap and the top five guys. So I think Manel Cap's gonna take this one. I think Perez has been exposed with some of the striking, even though he's really good with striking. The top echelon guys have been able to clip him. I'm thinking Manel Cap's gonna get this done. Nothing's gonna stop this guy from fighting for the title. I think he's getting better at his takedown defense. Alex Perez probably has a better chance of taking him down than anything else. Let's ignore that.
Call from 116248 Amarilla.
We don't know who that is. Nobody ever phones here. Who's got a house phone anyway? So, now that we've been disturbed, next, so I'm picking Manel Cap, high degree of confidence. Next fight, Andrea Lee versus Macy Barber. Andrea Lee, 5'6", 69.5-inch reach, 13 wins, 6 losses, 34 years old. Macy Barber, 5'5", 65-inch reach, 11 wins, 2 losses, 24 years old. Andrea Lee, she's 10 years older, so there is an age gap. I find her, again, top echelon journeyman fighter. Not top tier, but definitely in top journeyman, like higher mid-level. And most people she destroys. She's really strong. She's tough. She's got good skills. She's a good boxer. She's got good leg kicks. She's pretty good on the ground. She could take people down. She can fight to get back up. I find that most of the time that she's lost her fights is when she's made bad decisions, when she's tired. And it's frustrating to watch somebody who looks like they're really, really going to win this fight and then make some bad decisions. And I've seen her do it more than once. And she loses all these split decisions because of one bad decision or two bad decisions. And that's the reason why I can't really bet on her. Macy Barber, I'm not a Macy Barber lover. I actually don't like Macy Barber. I think she's always been overrated, especially when she first came on the scene. She was just really kind of arrogant, screaming, yelling, grunting, like just, kind of a bit of an ass clown thing, But she's 24 years old. She has gotten better for sure. She's really aggressive and she doesn't quit. And she's just out for blood, And I kind of like that, where Andrea Lee kind of, at the end of it, she'll get tired and she'll just make some bad decisions. Macy Barber just goes for it. And she makes the right decisions. I think that she's going to win this. I think she's at a disadvantage with her reach. I think she's going to get it in close. And I think she's going to grind Andrea Lee down. That's what I'm thinking. I think Andrea Lee's done the best she can. I think Macy Barber is now going to be moving up into the top echelon. I don't think Macy Barber becomes a champ, but she's going to be moving up and challenging. I think Andrea Lee's pretty much, her best years are past her. She's not old by any means, but I don't think she's going to be able to... Macy Barber is going to be more aggressive, period. And I think that's what's going to win her the fight, is the more aggressiveness. And I think as the fight goes on, Andrea Lee makes bad decisions. So, and which means I think Macy Barber is going to implement her game plan. And I think Andrea Lee is going to make some mistakes and not implement her game plan in the later part of the fight. And Macy Barber will win. Pick's going to be Macy Barber. Next fight, Nate Landwehr versus Austin Lingo. Nate Landwehr, 5'9", 72-inch reach, 16 wins, 4 losses, 34 years old. Austin Lingo, 5'10", 70-inch reach, 9 wins, 1 loss, 28 years old. Nate Landwehr, it's going to be an entertaining fight with this guy. He's going to go out, throw bombs, try get punched, give one, take one, give one, take one, and try to beat the hell out of you and not stop right to the very end. Very entertaining fighter, and that's what I think he wants. He wants to be more entertaining than really winning, but he ends up winning. And I really like him. He's really tough. Nate the Train. Everyone's going to love this fight. Austin Lingo. Okay, so everybody's saying how tough Austin Lingo is. I've seen him be pretty tough, but I haven't really seen him fight top echelon fighters and be super tough. I don't see it. I don't see him beating Nate Landwehr, and it's good. They're almost similar in style. Now he's a tough guy and he's a tough guy, and they're gonna throw down. They're gonna beat the hell out of each other. I'm going with Nate Landwehr. You know, I've seen this guy get knocked down, almost knocked out, come back and win the fight. But he's getting up there in age. He's 34 years old. At some point, the chin does stop working, and they're always at that critical time when they start hitting 35, 37 and stuff like that, depending on the wear and tear. But Austin Lingo, I just don't see. He's 9 wins, 1 loss, but who has he really fought? So I can't go with Austin Lingo. I got to go with Nate Landwehr. He's proven he's tough until he proves he's not. So I'm going to go with Nate Landwehr on this one. Co-main event, Holly Holmes versus Yana Santos. Holly Holm, 5'8", 69-inch reach, 14 wins, 6 losses, 41 years old. Yana Santos, 5'6", 68-inch reach, 14 wins, 6 losses, 33 years old. There's an 8-year age gap, and she's against Holly Holm, for Yana Santos is 8 years younger. Holly Holm, 41 years old. This normally is a red flag. Now, I saw her the last fight. She doesn't look as good as Holly Holm normally looks, but she's adjusted a lot of her fighting towards the fact that maybe she can't take as many punches. She's not as fast, but she's still faster than most girls and can hang with them on the feet. And she's got a great clinch game up against the fence. She's very strong. Even the last fight against Vera, I actually thought she won the fight just by strikes, even though Vera probably did more striking, the better striking, the more powerful striking. Holmes did outland her, but Holmes was clinching a lot and punching her up against the fence. Yana Santos, she's good, but I don't think she's the top echelon fighters. She's not there yet, even though I've seen she got knocked out by Aldana. I think Holmes lost against Aldana. No, Holmes, I can't remember if Holmes fought Aldana, but Santos, she lost against Vera, and I think Holmes lost against Vera, or did Santos beat Vera actually in a decision? Yeah, it was a close decision. It could have gone either way. I remember now the fight, and Santos at the last second just kind of got on top, and I think they gave it to her. I don't know if Santos is a good enough striker to stand with Holly Holm. And even though Santos is good on the ground, I don't know if she's good enough to take Holly Holm down. And as far as the clinch game on the fence, Holly Holm has proven that she could beat anyone on the fence. The question would be more that she's 41 years old, but I can't really bet against her because last fight she looked still pretty good. And I think she looked good enough in the last fight to beat Yana Santos. And Yana Santos is coming back after 2 years, or maybe even 3 years. She just had a baby, so she's coming back. This is her first fight. I think I'm going to go with Holly Holm here. And once again, like all my women's picks are at the bottom, so at the bottom of my legs. So it's not going to be damaging. Finally, main event of the evening. Marlon Vera versus Corey Sandhagen. Marlon Vera, 5'8", 70.5-inch reach, 20 wins, 7 losses, 1 draw, 30 years old. Corey Sandhagen, 5'11", 70-inch reach, 15 wins, 4 losses, 30 years old. Opposite in styles. My first initial reaction is pick Corey Sandhagen. He fought the better competition. Well, actually, has he fought? Yeah, he fought the better competition. and he's won against really good competition, and he's good on the ground. He's a good striker. He's great on scrambles. He could take a punch, all those things. And in this fight, he's a little bit taller, so he's going to have a little bit of a kicking advantage. But every time I bet against Marlon Vera, for some reason, Marlon Vera wins. But he wins a certain way. He basically is losing until he's not losing. And he's just basically knowing how to take enough punishment and stay within range until he gets his reads, and then basically hit the guy way harder than he can hit and turn the fight around. And I've seen him do it over and over again. So Corey Sandhagen should win this fight. Corey Sandhagen will outpoint Vera, but will Vera hurt Corey Sandhagen? And can Corey Sandhagen withstand it? And he probably can, but how will he look after he gets hit? It was kind of like that Rob Font, where Rob Font won the first 3 rounds and he got tagged so hard he didn't look the same for the rest of the fight. And Marlon Vera just beat him, and just he couldn't fully recover, and he just got beaten up after that. So, and that's been Marlon Vera's MO. He's just been able to out tough everybody, and he's doing it consistently. In this fight, I'm gonna pick both. This is my 50-50, where I have them right at the end, and I'm going to pick one parlay with Vera and one parlay with Corey Sandhagen and not have to worry when I'm watching this fight. So I'm going to go with both, just because the knockout and the fight-ending power of Vera, I mean, at some point he might not be able to finish it, but even though he hasn't been able to knock out, like, for example, Font, he was able to hurt him so much early enough that changed the whole fight course, and then the fighter just didn't look the same. I'm thinking Sandhagen can withstand it, but you just don't know. I mean, it's hard to bet against Vera since he's consistently been doing that. I mean, kind of cheering for the guy in a way, So, anyway, so I'm going to go with 50-50 on that one. So we're going to go over the chart and figure out how to set this up. Let me turn the camera out. Let's do this. Well, I don't have like a 70% confidence in anything, but I will go up to 60% for Niu Kwani and Cap. I think they're going to win their fights. I'm fairly confident in it. I've said this before, but like I've always said, bet what you can afford to lose. This is not financial advice. This is what I would do. This is my picks that I would do. So only bet what you can afford to lose. You only bet units that you're comfortable with, where it doesn't hurt you, and hopefully we'll get a long string of picks with enough legs where the payback is a lot greater than the initial investment. So next fight at 59%, I just kind of went down after that in degrees. I mean, I could call them legs, but I'm just kind of put percentages just to get a rough idea of where I'm at. Vergara, and again, he's a -170 favorite. He's a -175 favorite. Not huge favorites, but some decent favorites. Vergara is actually a pretty big favorite. I got him at 59%. He's a question mark just because of the fighter and how explosive and unpredictable the fighter he's fighting is. Landwehr -220. Everybody loves this guy. Again, I'm fairly confident that he's going to win. But you don't know with Lingo. As far as I'm concerned, I haven't seen enough about Lingo. At 57%, Torres. I think Torres is going to win this. I think he's going to be able to beat Ogden. So, fairly confident in Torres as well. It was hard to see which, because they're so close in confidence. I just had to organize them in a way where you know, we go the longest before we can possibly lose. So I'm just gonna go with these guys. And again, now this one's an iffy one, but I'm thinking Peterson's gonna beat Lucas Alexander. Just Lucas Alexander, I haven't seen enough from him, but it's hard to tell with Peterson. It's gonna be, I mean, he should be good enough, but Lucas Alexander, we really don't know that much about him. I haven't really been impressed with what I've seen, but that having said that, that doesn't mean he won't step up and beat Peterson, who's an average journeyman fighter. You know, good everywhere. 55%, a fairly confident, reasonably confident Giles is going to win. He is an underdog. Well, he's minus 110. Basically, it's a pick'em. I just got it marked as an underdog, which is like a virtual underdog. 54% Altamiro, again, minus 110. It's a pick'em, virtual underdog. 53% at Lutz, just because I don't know what's going to happen with Pineda, if he's going to come out like he normally comes out, or what's he going to look like. He's a fairly big favorite, Lutz. I don't even know why you'd... There's a lot of big favorites here that shouldn't be big favorites, just because of the caliber of fighter they are. Lutz is one of those guys at minus 250. I mean, he's a huge favorite. I mean, and Lutz is a very average fighter. 52%. Again, I got the women at the bottom end. Home at 52%. Barber at 51%. You know, their favorites, minus 250, minus 275. Again, these, especially this fight's going to be super close. I don't know how Barber is actually minus 275 favorite. I think this is a really close fight with Lee. You know, and I think Lee is actually a better striker than Barber. So I'm just going off her aggressiveness, her being able to take her to her ground and grinding on her. You know, even though Lee's has got good, you know, defense on the ground, is good off her back and get back up. So I mean, these odds are a little weird. Well, they're not good. So anyways, 50 plus. Vidal, I'm gonna go with Vidal. She is the underdog. This is my true underdog is Vidal plus 100. So we're gonna go with her. And the 50-50, I'm gonna pick one card with Vera, who's a slight underdog, and Sandhagen, who's a slight favorite. I'm gonna go with one of each and not have to worry about it. Hopefully you know, if I'm picking both, I'm cheering for Vera, because if this hits, it's gonna be it's a much better payout with Vera. So yeah, so let's leave it at that. I will be going looking at the weigh-ins, and if there's something that changes, I might go on for a quick few minutes and put out a video where it's like, okay, well, I've seen this guy, he looks terrible at the weigh-ins, or somebody looked good, and maybe if it's a close enough decision where I was kind of gauging who I was going to pick, I might change it. Hopefully I got time for that, but you know, at some point, like I said, I wouldn't mind doing a show, like 20-minute show, where I display the weigh-in pictures and the face-offs and see what they look like comparatively in size and what they look like once they've cut the weight on the scales. So that's going to be the next project. But if something really changes drastically, I want to try and get it out with a quick video. But that is it. If you like the video, hit like. Would appreciate it. Would improve my algorithm standings. If you want to be notified next time there is a video, for example, like the video I might put out for after the weigh-ins, hit subscribe. If you want to buy me a coffee, in the description there's a buy me a coffee. I like coffee. Feel free to buy me a coffee if you find this at all helpful or entertaining. All right, well, thank you very much for joining me. We will see you, if not for a quick video after the weigh-ins, we will see you on the recap video. And hopefully this unpredictable card is the card that we've predicted correctly. All right, thanks for joining me. Bye.